In survival, when you set the time to night, mobs start spawning. Everyone knows that. Mobs spawn where there is dark. Or do they? No mobs. What is this witchery, you might ask? This is a proof of concept for a vanilla, survival-friendly mob spawn switch. And I know a lot of you might say, Panda4994 already did this, and it's broken. Both of those things are true. He made a mob spawn switch using zombies wearing pumpkins on their heads. And in 1.5.2, that got changed. And zombies with pumpkins on their heads, or whatever item they would hold, would not count in the mob cap anymore. Then, there was the name tags. But Mojang thought a bit more about that when they added those. And they did not make so the name tags would make the mob count in the mob cap. So, the hope for this was pretty much destroyed. But I got one idea, and I thought about this for a long time, and I thought if only it was possible to do a specific thing that I had in mind that could possibly make this possible in the new version. Possibly make this possible, yes. But I did not know if someone else made it or not. So I went online and I searched dozens of videos, searched up so many things, did not find this already made in a video. And I thought it would be. And I was surprised about that. So, this is probably something that I discovered, and it's new. And I'm excited to show you what I just found here. And I'm pretty sure some of you already guessed what it would be. But I'm going to teleport to spawn. And I'm going to show you. Here we are. In the spawn chunks. Delimited by the red and black wool. And spawn chunks, for those who don't know, are an area of 16 by 16 area of chunks centered around your spawn point. And everything in that area is always loaded. This is a spawn point. I marked it with these. And I know I did not spawn on it, but in Minecraft you do not spawn directly on your spawn point. You do spawn around a 20 by 20 area around it. So this is the spawn point of the world. I can prove it to you. Take this compass. And I walk to it. It switches. So this is my spawn point. And these are the spawn chunks. I have this blue marker around it, which basically shows how where the spawn chunks entity chunks border aligns with the other chunk border, the other chunks, because the entity chunks are chunks that are surrounded by two chunks in each direction, including the diagonals. So this chunk is an entity chunk because those two chunks are loaded around it, and those two are loaded, those two are loaded, loaded. Basically, a 5 by 5 area centered on it has to be loaded for this to be an entity chunk. And what is an entity chunk, you might ask? Entity chunks are entity processing chunks. So any entity in this chunk would be able to receive game ticks, updates, and be processed by the game. But if an entity was in this chunk, it would not be able to process itself. But stuff like redstone and clocks and all that stuff, and minecarts moving would work only in this. And if it passes the border, it would just stop until a player loads this area and makes it an entity chunk. But redstone does still work in the rest of the spawn chunks, the 2-chunk line around the whole thing. So that's how this works, and that are what the spawn chunks are. But how does this make the mob spawn switch possible? Panda did show that he put the zombies into his spawn chunks, and he was pushing them through a nether portal with pistons, and on the other side it was making either the nether or the overworld mob spawn proof for hostile mobs. And I use the spawn chunks method, but it is not zombies wearing pumpkins I have. In this case, I decided to go with something a bit different. You can see it already. Withers. Right here, there are 80 withers. That's why there is so much smoke. And I know you can't hear the sounds of them. And I did mute them for a reason. So that's why that is. And they have the tag no AI associated with it. So these withers will not move. But apart from that, they're regular old normal withers. And withers are the mob that makes this possible. Why? Withers never despawn. They're hostile mobs, and they never despawn no matter what. You can go away from them, they're still going to be there when you come back. They're bosses, so they obey to different rules. But they also have an amazing property. They do not despawn, that's for one thing. But also, they count in the hostile mob cap. And I'm surprised about this. I thought that Mojang would have made something like withers are extra or something like that, but no. Withers do count in the hostile mob cap. And what does that mean? That means that these 80 withers are right now filling completely my mob spawn cap. But it will only do so if the area where they stand is an entity chunk. If it isn't an entity chunk, they will unload and mobs will spawn again. How to make it an entity chunk? To make a chunk outside of the spawn chunks, an entity chunk, you have to load all the chunks, 2 chunks around it to make a 5x5 area centered on it. How is that possible? And why did I not put the withers in the spawn chunks? Withers are a pain to get rid of. So if you want to disable your device and you want the mobs to spawn again, having 80 withers in your spawn chunks would be hard to get rid of. So if you store them outside of your spawn chunks, you have total control over if they will work or not. And this is the key to the whole thing. This is a chunk loader. I know, it doesn't look like it. It is really small, but this design has been known recently by a few Minecrafters, technical players. I do not recall who discovered it. But basically, if you have a furnace above a hopper facing into another chunk than the one it is in, with an item in the hopper, and the chunk where the hopper is in is loaded, the chunk where it's pointing to is going to load too. And since this one gets loaded, these chunk loaders get loaded. They load these chunks, which then loads those chunk loaders, which loads these chunk, and so on until it does a 5x5. And all this starts with one chunk loader in the spawn chunks. So if I take this piece of stone, deactivating the chunk loader, and then I go away, you will soonly see, yes, hostile mob spawns again. And if I put the stone back. Unload the mobs. Then go back. Nothing. So, how can you build this in survival? Well, there are a few requirements. You need to have around enough wither skulls to make 70 to 80 withers. That's a lot. That takes around 4 stacks of wither skulls. So I hope you have a good farm. But I know some people, really technical players, have more than they need, so this could be something they could do with it. Not trying to push you to do anything. And just before I continue, I want to show you, I am in the latest version of the game, Minecraft 1.8.7 Vanilla. So this will work in the new version. So for people who don't know, there are multiple ways you can get wither skulls pretty fast. And there are some farms over there that really makes it quite easy. But most and all, 1.8 made it even easier. Why? Because there is another way to get wither skulls. In 1.8, charge creepers. If they explode wither skeletons, there is a chance that I think every single one of them is going to drop a wither skull. Or maybe 3/4 of the time or something. I'm not quite sure. But there is a way with those to get wither skulls fast. And even then, you have to get charge creepers. It's not the easiest thing to get. But there are some farms over there. One guy on YouTube, I remember, Droid Freak 36, I believe, was his name. He made Charge Creeper Farm for 1.8. And with that, you could maybe send the creepers to the nether, and then you could blow wither skeletons up in a spawner or something you made. Not a real spawner with a block of a spawner, but a grinder, and get a lot of wither skulls fast. When you have that, you have to locate your spawn chunks. And I'm not going to get in detail on how to do that. There are a lot of tutorials out on YouTube that you can look at to see that. I might link something in the description for that one. So once you know where your spawn chunks are, you know where you have to put the withers, and you have all the things to build the withers, you have to trap 80 withers into one single spot. And that is a different story. Because withers shoot stuff. And if the withers shoot themselves, they tend to glitch out of pretty much any prison you could build. So, I don't really know how you could capture 80 withers into the same spot. Someone more intelligent than me might figure that part out. Maybe. But this is already amazing as it is. The fact that you can use 80 withers or something in the game that is possible to get to do this trick. I find it quite cool as it is. I really hope this will serve something to someone. And I don't think Mojang is going to patch this. This is like a feature of the game itself and not really a bug. So I think this is safe to use for the next updates. I hope so anyways. And I did not really reveal something that they're going to see and then they're going to patch in the next update. So, sorry if that happens, but I really hope you can use this for your own desires. And that's all I have to show you for today. I hope you did enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Next video. Yeah. Have fun with your day. Bye. Don't say I didn't warn you. Trapping these guys is almost impossible. All that you have to do is put a sheep.